What's going on, my friends? Welcome on out to Behind the Energy podcast, where we dive into behind the scenes of DJing, entrepreneurship, and all the excitement in between. We got some friends, some cool people joining us, and a lot of fun stories. So without further ado, let's jump into Behind the Energy podcast. What's up, party people? It's episode 26 of Behind the Energy podcast. Welcome, my boy Branden Estrada. I'm not going to make a stupid joke. Branden, welcome to the podcast. YouTube friends, listeners, welcome, especially if you've been listening along. Thank you. It's episode 26. Branden, what's up, my dude?
Nothing. Like I said, I'm stoked to be here. It's good to be in good company. You're a great conversationalist, and I think we've been vibing a lot recently. So I'm stoked. Yeah, my first podcast ever in my whole life.
Is this really? Have you ever been interviewed before?
Back in high school once, but it was for something like very, very different.
Okay, I'm actually genuinely curious now. What was it for?
It was for, it was KUTV because we basically saved a kid's life in high school.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
super random, but
Wow.
The kid got trapped under a car. His head got pinned to the asphalt by the car's axle, and then me and two of my friends lifted up the hood of the car and pulled him out.
I was not expecting that. Oh my God.
It was wild.
Okay, so you have had a very serious interview. I don't think we're going to be going that serious today.
Yeah.
I guess for the listeners, Brandon, I don't know when we first officially met. Do you know when we met for the first time?
I don't.
No?
I remember seeing you, but I don't remember actually meeting you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess where I'm going with this is that we have been friends and acquaintances for from a distance for years.
Yeah.
And as of at least the last 2 years or so, I'm yo, I feel like I could be homies with Branden.
Yeah.
We'd actually have a really good friendship, DJing aside.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say just the past month or two, we've been making that actually happen. So
Yeah, finally.
Yeah,
After
finally.
all this time.
Finally, yes. And yes, I think you may have, picked up on this, but we met through DJing. And I didn't know this, but you were there at the OG parties at Planet Play and
Yep.
the Megaplex and whatnot. So
Yeah, Megaplex. I don't know if I went to the Megaplex ones, but Planet Play for
Planet
sure.
Play, yeah.
When you were first starting out.
those are the days, bro.
I don't know if Parker will ever admit this, but he had a rat tail too.
Yeah, dude.
So
I'm so proud of that thing.
I remember Parker as the DJ with the rat tail and his American DJ controller, I think he had.
American Audio.
Oh, American Audio, sorry.
Audio,
Yep.
yeah.
I remember it all. The black trussing that we all started out with back in the day, yeah.
The $150 on stage stand, black trussing. Yeah.
It was bad. It was cool back then, but
Yes.
looking back, it's whoa, that was bad.
When you're 16 or 17.
Yeah.
I just got this sick new DJ gear. I don't want to talk about my beginnings of DJing. I want to talk about your beginnings, to share a little bit about your story, and then also maybe if you've been listening along, I like to provide some educational value to whether they're people in the event industry or specifically DJs or even just entrepreneurs in general. So, setting the table there, Branden, if you could take a few minutes and kind of walk me through and the listeners through the beginnings of your story in DJing.
Mm-hmm.
Back as a high schooler, what does that kind of look like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm 27 now, so I think it really did start when I was around 16 or 17.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Marcus Swing had just barely started DJing at Studio 600 in Salt Lake. So in high school, me and all my friends, we would go to every single party.
Mm-hmm.
And after the first one, we were talking to each other and we were telling each other, we have to go to every single party.
Mm-hmm.
And then we lived up to that statement. We literally went to every single party. And we followed Marcus Swing from Studio 600 to the complex. And then I would also come check out your Planet Play parties. And they were wild. It was incredible, a beautiful time.
I'd hear stuff after. They were wild.
Yeah, they were wild. It was crazy. It was this brand new thing in Utah that, didn't exist before that, essentially.
Like throwing parties?
Like having big parties, you know. I think Marcus Wing pioneered it essentially.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then
I wouldn't know, but like I'd believe that claim. Like maybe there was
Yeah.
like more underground stuff, but like large scale, open to the public,
Yeah.
high school, college. That makes sense. Yeah.
the intermediary between like a steak dance, which is way lame, and a rave, which is too hardcore.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
So we would go to all those, and I never contemplated DJing because I just loved parties. You know, I just would go to every party, dance, meet people, meet girls, and
Yes.
you know, hang out with my friends. But
Yeah.
then I went on a mission, and when I came home, I still liked going to parties, but I stopped enjoying them for the reasons that I used to. Like I didn't feel the novelty of like meeting people and having the thrill of, you know, like being around new girls and stuff. And
Okay.
there was this time where I was actually at a steak dance and this guy was DJing there and he was awful. I don't know if the listeners know what steak dances are, but
They might.
Yeah, it's-
actually give a preview in case they don't.
yeah, so steak dances are where the LDS church will host dances for people where everyone can come and dance inside the church building. It's usually inside. And I went to a steak dance and there was this DJ there. I forgot his name, but I just remember him being like really bad. But I went up and talked to him and I said, hey, like how much are they paying you to come DJ here? And he said some number like $750.
That's the first steak dance nearly 10 years ago. That's pretty good.
It was a lot,
Yeah.
And in my mind,
In
I was
Utah, yeah.
and in my mind, I was like, okay, this guy is awful, and he's making money, like providing an experience that I'm pretty much living every weekend. Why don't I just start DJing? So I think like a couple weeks later, I went and bought like 2 alto speakers, an alto sub,
Let's go.
and then
From Guitar Center?
Yeah, from Guitar Center.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have a controller or like turntables or anything at this point. This was just my laptop, and I would plug in my laptop through an aux cord and play Spotify and YouTube and switch between Spotify and YouTube. And I started just DJing essentially.
Yeah.
And then I started getting really into it. And then I bought my first Newmark mix track controller, which is just a small DJ controller.
Yeah, I know the one, man.
And then I just never stopped. And then it just kept going and going. And then one thing led to another. And I was getting booked for weddings and then high school dances. This was at the very beginning. And then in 2015, they started the Tribe, you know, Eric and Tanner, a guy named Parker Brian Holt. And I was there from the beginning, but I technically didn't start. I was just their DJ. But around 2015 is when I started DJing.
Okay. Okay. I did want to take some time to talk about like the early days of the Tribe because from an outsider perspective, even though like I don't think I really met or chatted, it did seem like you were one of the OG like members or creators of the Tribe. For listeners, if you could give a brief introduction of what the Tribe is, that'd be awesome. And then also maybe tell me about those early days hosting events and working with the Tribe.
Yeah, so the Tribe is an event company just based out of Provo, Utah, and they started in 2015, and now they're, I think, the biggest event company in Utah Valley for college-age students. And how it started was, you know, my friends Eric Little, Tanner Valerio, Parker Brian Holt, they wanted to host some kind of free Halloween event. My memory is really fuzzy now.
Sorry, I know like this event is coming back from my deep memory. Were you friends with all of them prior?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Like you were friends growing up or high school at least?
Yeah, so I've known Eric since high school.
Okay.
And then Tanner since middle school because I played soccer with him. And then
Okay.
Parker's dad worked with my dad like years and years ago. So I've known these guys for a long time.
Okay, I didn't know that. All right,
Yeah.
awesome. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh no,
jump in. I was
yeah.
genuinely curious. Halloween party.
Yeah. So then they rented out an event center in, it might have been Spanish Fork, somewhere down south, and they just wanted to host a free event. And I don't know the amount of people, but I think more than like 3,000 people came to this free Halloween event that they just randomly decided to put together. So
Is this the one where you first initially bought those really tall blow up like skeletons? Or was that down the road?
I think that was down the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But
Okay.
yeah, we packed the place. There were so many people, they cracked like the foundation of the floor. So when you went to the basement, the ceiling was cracked.
That's an expensive accomplishment, I guess.
Yeah, it stung a little. I mean, Eric took care of a lot of it, but back then, I mean, it triggered in all of our minds. We all thought like, hey, let's do this. Like, let's make something new happen. And that's where it started. And that's where I started as a DJ, because that was my first event that I DJ'd at.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, help me understand the difference between the events you had done prior and, of course, maybe, playing on Spotify and YouTube and on your first controller, your first Newmark controller, to like that first event DJing. Mm-hmm. I think I can kind of understand that, but for listeners and people who aren't in the entertainment or DJ world, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so when I first started DJing, I was just doing weddings and high school dances. But when you actually... So DJs primarily will mix music and like blend it together, make it sound presentable and like make it sound awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have really good transitions and everything like that. But when I first started, I would just switch between songs on YouTube and Spotify. So I wasn't DJing. It was just like choosing songs like how regular... dads at high school dances choose songs.
You weren't mixing. You weren't mixing with much technical skill. I mean, in a way, I think like that's still DJing, and I think a lot of earlier DJs would technically call that DJing. You're picking the right song to play, and you're playing it at a specific time. But what you're referencing or getting at, the difference is actually utilizing skill and technique on your controller, on your turntables, and playing for a big crowd. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're getting at? Or
Yeah. Okay. So then that event in Halloween, that's when it kickstarted actual DJing for me.
Okay.
Like that's what I consider my beginning.
Okay.
So then from that point moving forward, I became technical, so to say. So I started progressing and advancing in that aspect. No more Spotify, downloaded mixing software and programs, and then I just went for it and I never stopped.
I can't seem to find a comfortable spot. There we go. I think I need a pillow behind me. There we go. Okay, so you're going to think this is funny. My friends, when I first started, we had a very similar, like, beginning in DJing. Like, steak dance and going to Marcus Wing's parties and stuff like that. And even when I started, I was mixing off virtual DJ on my laptop with no controller. Mm-hmm. My friends would razz me and call me DJ Pandora. Because like I wasn't doing anything special. Like I was literally like, Pandora. Like high pass filter out with my mouse on my HP laptop on virtual DJ. And dude, the same friends like filmed a video of them burning my business card and making fun of me and all that great stuff. They're still with me today. They're still great friends. But anyways, sorry, sidetrack right there. Okay, so. Tell me a little bit more, and listeners a little bit more about that time, the early days working with the tribe and hosting events. Like, clearly the first event was a success and got you thinking more seriously. Like, is this something we want to do? Mm-hmm. Is this something we can do?
Yeah. So it's interesting because it really jump-started like what I envisioned myself doing in the future. Also, because I mean, I never really knew back then, but as for the tribe, we started doing events, and I would DJ all of their events. Mm-hmm. Alongside Parker Breinholt, but then eventually, like 3 years down the road, or maybe like 4-ish years, around like 2018 to 2019, like once again, I hate saying it, but the novelty kind of wears off. Like you DJ big events and it kind of becomes monotonous. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then I started thinking to myself, like DJing, I've progressed, so far in this realm of college age parties and entertained thousands, but at the same time, it's like I want to build something for myself also. So then as a DJ, I started looking into producing also, checking out stuff like that. And then the tribe is still doing what they're doing. But then I kind of like branched off a little bit to where I wasn't tackling everything head on, and I kind of like stepped off to the side. And then I focused more on just producing and DJing, but not in that realm specifically.
Okay. You made a natural transition to where I wanted to go next is producing. I feel like we jumped over a lot of time though in your experience DJing. Like you've done some really big events. I've only been to a few tribe events just because like I'm usually booked when y'all are doing events. Like it just that's how it goes in the event industry.
Yeah.
Was there any event in particular that absolutely blew your mind or maybe a fun story over the years in working regularly with the tribe that comes to mind? Because that's a good chunk of time and your experience DJing to like jump over.
Yeah. There's a lot to cover. Like, we don't have enough time to cover that much, but for one specific instance that I had
Yeah.
where it was pretty mind-blowing, and I would even borderline say psychedelic, it was New Year's of 2019, like going into 2020.
And where did you host that at?
It was at the UCCU Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
So, I mean, back in the day, I would always go to those New Year's parties at the UCCU Center by Marcus Wing, and I remember one day I asked Marcus after an event. He didn't know me at the time, but I was like, hey, what does it take to DJ at one of these? And Marcus was like, it's a really tight-knit group, and, we don't have any openings. I think that was like 5 years before, and then I was playing at the UCCU that same year on the same stage with him. But anyways, that's like a funny story. But yeah, there was this experience that I had. I don't talk about this often, but this must have been the pinnacle of experiences in that sphere, because I like tapped into some kind of flow state or altered state of consciousness throughout that event. I was completely sober, but I think there was just this moment when the realization hits, when you see 5,000 people like dancing to you DJing and everyone's in the present moment, and something just clicked, and I was like, whoa. And I don't want to say it was revelatory, but like I started tearing up, and even my vision got sharper, and I started having this like spiritual, visceral experience where I was like, this is beautiful. And that's the best night of DJing I've ever had.
I mean, were you playing at that like midnight time frame, kind of 11?
It was probably like 10:30 to 11:30. Yeah.
That many people at that time.
Yeah. It was. It's huge.
Like I'm getting the chills as you're explaining that. I think for a DJ, some of those moments come every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
When everyone is so like, it's not captured. What's the right word? I do this too often. I can't come up with the right word. Everyone is so captured by the moment, if you will, and almost like connected to the energy that you're facilitating and providing. Like, that's a damn cool feeling. Did this particular event, that particular moment, like, did that kind of shift directions for you, or was that just like an incredibly memorable moment over the years doing such large events? Like, is my question making sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it shifted a lot of my perspective about DJing. I mean, we're talking about like bringing the energy, but like that night, I didn't feel like I brought the energy, but I felt like I added to it. Yeah. Meaning like I brought an experience to a lot of people, right? And at that moment, because there had been so many events that I had done previously where that hasn't happened, to where I feel like a spiritual feeling with it.
Okay.
So after that, I started thinking to myself, how can I keep doing this? But like, how do I keep? This is hard to word in my mind, but like, how can I keep adding these types of experiences to my life? Because I can't just do it in like college settings, because I want to do it to like a lot of people. I want to entertain and like help uplift people and enable them to have memorable experiences and feel that spiritual, like satisfied feeling where you're emotionally connected and everyone's in the moment. And the reason why it changed my perception is because after that moment, I realized I had to change my course also, because I don't want to be DJing college events when I'm like 33. So then I'm like, logically, the next step is production and like making my own music. And like, if I can just do this with DJing, and like, imagine if it was my own song and people were enjoying themselves, and that kind of just catapulted me to just be like, boom, produce.
That makes sense. Yeah. As you're continuing to like describe the thought process there, I'm like, okay, I'm following along. This makes sense. This makes sense. This makes sense. Okay. So was it 2019 when you kind of started dabbling in production, or like 2020 is really when you really, I guess, started going down that path, building that path?
It was 2019 when I started. Okay. Beginning of 2020 is when I really started.
Hit it a lot harder.
Which is weird because it was the beginning of the pandemic, but... we try to make it happen.
I imagine you were able to play some of your own track or edits or even own personal tracks in 2020. Maybe at the beginning or some off-end events throughout the year when it was okay to do stuff like that, larger scale.
Yeah,
okay.
I was.
Okay, let's we're into producing. Branden, I'll be honest, dude. I tried producing when I was like a senior in high school, and I am not a technology person. I am also not a person who can sit down in front of a computer or a laptop for a long time. I remember my thought process was, if I want to produce music, I need to like understand the basics of music. And so I actually, as a senior, I started piano lessons. I took piano lessons for a couple months, and I remember I played a recital. I was the oldest one there, and my teacher was so proud of me. There was like 3 or 4 year olds playing, and everything else, maybe up to like a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
My teacher's so excited. She's like, "Parker, you're such a great example." She went on and spoke before me. She's like, "I just want this to be a message to everyone that no one's too young or too old to learn how to play piano," whatever. It was really funny. But anyways, I'm going somewhere with this. I got a point. I tried getting into the world of producing, and it's just so overwhelmed by trying to learn the software and the ins and outs of even making sound come out of like the MIDI controller and everything that I was using. So I put a pause on that pretty quickly. Tell me a little bit about, I guess, your path venturing into producing. What has been like maybe one of the bigger challenges in getting started and beginning to learn how that world works.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny your piano teacher put you on blast, but
oh yeah, she put me on blast. She was like bragging, dude. It was kind of dope. Like it was definitely silly, but I thought it was fun. But anyways, that was just a side story to add to the conversation. But
yeah,
tell me a little bit about your journey and in becoming familiar with the world of producing, if you will.
Yeah, I love to. So production started out. I started out, I think, as a lot of other people do. Like I opened up the DAW, which is a digital audio workstation where you make your music.
Okay.
I actually use Logic, which is the same DAW right there.
Okay.
And because I realized I wanted to get into it, but I was starting from scratch. Like I had no idea. So I would watch a couple YouTube tutorials, and then one day I just hopped in. And this is kind of a funny story. I don't tell people, but I was so stoked to start. I buy Logic on my computer, and I think I opened a synth. It was like the ESW. I forget what it's called because I use Serum now, but I opened up a synthesizer.
Okay.
I pressed the button, and like a weird note or like a siren went off, and I couldn't figure out how to turn it off. So there's like this constant like like playing over and over again. And then I closed the program, and I think I like sat there and teared up. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm making it. Like,
I see what you're saying.
I will never make a track or anything.
You couldn't figure out how to turn it off.
I couldn't figure out how to just simply turn off a note that was sustaining itself. And I was like, I'm useless. Like I'm never gonna make it.
Yeah, that would have been me, and then I would have.
Yeah.
I'm not one to like quit, but like.
Dude, it got scary, but. Yeah. I started producing, and I just watch tutorials, put like simple
YouTube, YouTube stuff,
just YouTube tutorials, and I put simple beats together, hip hop, and then a little bit of future bass, and this was like all throughout 2019. And
now you're kind of a future bass kind of guy,
yeah,
or at least were.
I was. I used to be a lot, yeah, but then there's really. I don't know how to explain like how to get proficient besides you just keep going. It's kind of like working out. You work out and the next day you feel awful because you're sore. And you're like, I haven't ever used these muscles. Okay. But that's it as a production too. Like I just kept going and going and going, and then things started clicking, tutorials on, how to compress and do everything. And this is like a whole other world that, it would take a long time to talk about, but I mean, going down the road a little bit more, I started getting into house music.
Yeah.
And this was at the end of 2019 going into 2020. And that's when I feel like it clicked when I'm like, okay, I can actually make stuff. And then I started jumping in to house, and then I haven't stopped since.
Huh. I love it.
I don't know if that answered your question, but
No, it does. My mind kind of transported to campus. I just graduated from the U, as you know, but house music at the U, like at college parties, fraternity parties, like that's where it's at, and it's so fun, like navigating back and forth between hip hop and house. But kind of jumping back to my question and back to your response there, it sounds like constant progression, even if it's, you know, one day at a time or 1 hour at a time, and then utilizing YouTube as a tool or a resource for becoming familiar with the, what do you call it? The DAW?
the DAW, yeah.
The DAW. Becoming familiar with the DAW, how to navigate through there and manipulate certain things. Mm-hmm. It's funny, I asked Jerry a similar question, and he suggested YouTube as well, as a resource. Did you have any mentors or any other producing friends that kind of showed you some ropes, or just trial and error and YouTube?
It was trial and error, and then Blake Rawlings.
Okay, dope.
Yeah, so
I need to hit him up too. Okay, Blake Rawlings.
Yeah, because we started a DJ duo.
Yes,
at the beginning of 2020.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he really like helped me jump into house too, and me and him were making some really cool stuff within like 6 months. But yeah, something that's interesting too that I always think about is like when it comes to starting brand new things. Like when you started as a DJ, you started from scratch. Also, I don't wonder, but I'm always contemplating how many people are in that beginning stage, and they'll like come across something like this, and they're like, "Can I really do DJing, production, or like entertainment?" Mm-hmm. And because I've heard people talk about this recently, someone just asked me, they're like, "Do you feel like you've made it?" And I was like, "No, like obviously not. I mean, I'm not like some rich person, but." The person that was asking me wanted to get into it, and I said, I don't think I'll ever feel like I'm gonna make it, but like if you start on the path and you just keep going, you're gonna get really far. As long as you're consistent. Sorry, that's just a random tangent.
No, you're good. I love it. I wanted to add on to that thought process. I have this almost like theory that people don't believe that they are as capable as they truly are, or as strong as they truly are, and are I guess you say giving up, for the lack of better words, on certain things, because, you know, maybe one setback, and I think that that's in my personal opinion, like that's reasoning why when people, you know, don't go after that crazy idea they had when they were in high school or whatever. I'm not saying like I'm an example of pushing beyond that. I just I'm getting lost in my train of thought right now, Brandon. But what I'm trying to say, if I can nail this home, is I don't think people give themselves enough credit, and don't believe that they're as strong as they truly are.
I agree.
And maybe, for example, jumping back to that initial time you opened up that software, and that constant loop could not shut up, so you just close your laptop. Like, you know, I think a lot of people would view that as like, I really don't know if I have what it takes. And then they might try it 2 or 3 more times and then give up. And so, I appreciate you bringing it up. I feel like I'm kind of rambling now, but
another random
please,
thing I want to interject.
Add on to the ramble.
Yeah, so I don't know if people realize also are we short on time?
We got like 3 minutes. We're chilling.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say also, I don't think people realize that the ladder that people think they have to climb is kind of arbitrary, because everyone's path to success is going to be super different. Like from the time I opened the DAW for the first time to having a track played by Dr. Fresh on his live stream.
Yes, bro.
Yeah. That's the highlight of my life. So shout out to Blake Rawlings and for his production right there, because me and him produced a track called Silly Rabbit that Dr. Fresh apparently really liked. But from the time frame that I opened the DAW to having our own record be played by Dr. Fresh was only 2.5 years.
That's like a blink. When
you
think about it.
And it happened super quickly, but that's what it's interesting too, because some people just don't realize that they can still make it happen fairly quickly if they want to.
Oh gosh, I guess adding on. Nick, are we doing okay on time, bro?
I feel like there's so many things I want to cover.
Yeah, Nick, are we doing all right, or are we at like 30 minutes right now, man?
In about 10 seconds.
Oh shoot.
Minutes on that, and that was clicked before.
Oh shoot. Okay.
So if we want to cut it right now,
Thank you.
Mid ramble.
All right, we were mid ramble, and then the camera shut off. I apologize if you're still listening. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for joining me in this frenzy of rambling. We were talking about, I guess, taking the leap on producing, taking the leap on DJing, or I guess more in more general terms, like taking the leap on an idea that you may have. Do you have anything you want to add right now?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I have so many questions, but I feel like I'm the one being questioned. So, because I know a lot of people will know your story if they listen to you. So I'm just trying to think of like anything I could add. But.
Okay, I got a question for you, Brandon. If you could give one tip for whether it be DJing or producing to someone who's brand new and contemplating the idea, what would it be?
I would honestly say at this point, just do it. You know, Nike, give me free stuff. That's not a plug for Nike.
Yeah, you're not even wearing Nike.
I know. I don't think I own Nike stuff.
Okay. Anyways,
no, but
just do it.
Yeah,
just do
seriously,
it.
just do it. It's gonna be easier. It's simultaneously gonna be easier than you think and harder than you think. But as long as you just do it and you just keep going and progressing, and you're gonna learn, you're gonna fail, and it's all part of the cycle we're all in. But yeah, just simply get started on the path. And if you don't do it right now, like someone else is gonna do it, so it might as well be you.
True. Oh yeah. Oh man, you're bringing back memories right now. Oh dude, I remember when I first started like getting into like lifting, and I remember waking up like early on a Saturday morning in high school, thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. And then I remember, if I'm not doing it, someone else is going out there and do it. I look myself in the mirror. I'm like, all right, we're going to the freaking gym. Let's go. And then before you know it, when you take that leap and you keep going and being consistent with it, you get signed to a record. Do we want to talk anything about that right now?
We can. that was a
Give a little
cool
preview.
Switch, yeah.
Yeah.
I did get signed. Well, one record that I made got signed to a record label called No Face Records.
No Face Records.
Which is a house label record. It's a house record label based out of the Dominican Republic. That's all
dope.
places.
That's dope.
So there's a guy named Max Vangeli who he's a mixing engineer. I think he might be a DJ and producer also, but he works with like Tiesto and Martin Garrix and all of them.
Nice.
And he's been the one that I've been talking to, which is really cool. But I'm not trying to get like overexcited because this is just a stepping stone. But I think it'll be really cool. It's a cool opportunity. I'm really blessed to have it. So we'll see what happens.
A big milestone. I feel like I don't know who this person is. I know who those DJs are. You're underselling it. He's underselling it. Branden Estrada, ladies and gentlemen. Where can the people look you up to follow you or to listen to your music and your wubs and the boots and cats?
Yeah, just Instagram at Branden Estrada. So it's BRANDEN. And
E-N.
Yep, E-N. It's different. And then ESTRADA. And then the single releases on January 31st. So
yo, let's go.
And then from there, who knows?
Sorry, I'm laughing. I'm sure you love it when people call you Brandon. Brandon. Oh,
everyone misspells my name.
Branden Estrada, ladies and gentlemen. Single releases January 31st. That's in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Less than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Ladies and gentlemen, Branden Estrada, thank you for joining us in our ramble session. Nick Nord, thank you for being patient with us. If you have yet to go follow this dude, and if you are feeling it, leave a review in the podcast. Share it with a significant other. Like, subscribe, add us on Facebook, all that great stuff. Branden Estrada, any last bidding words to the people?
Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates. Oh, if I had, is it the kava?
It's the mate cup.
If I have my mate, I would cheers you. We'll cheers you all the way into next week for the next episode of Behind the Energy Podcast.
All right. Thanks, Parker. Have a good night, guys.